And here we go. Time for some F1. Let's get this underway. And we are joined this time by a Pedro. Likewise, I second that motion. And here we go for some Saudi Arabia F1 qualifying for 2022. Yeah, no worries, man. Do what you gotta do. There we go. Finally got it as I would like. Right, and just in time to be live for about 2 minutes. That was good. Right. Let's try and enjoy this. So who's your pick for pole in this one? We watched the practice together. I'd say it's probably a fair, safe bet at the moment.
But yeah, the Ferraris look strong as well.
Yeah.
But as we've seen, they seem to be struggling through Sector 2.
Yeah, it does look like that tricky middle sector is catching out the non-Red Bull runners. I'll tell you what, can you see that porpoising on Norris? It looks horrible. It's just bouncing
Yeah.
along.
Let me say, I don't think it looks as bad as compared with other teams.
I suppose where I'm looking at it, it's on board and it just looks horrible. It's probably always going to look worse to the driver, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry, I need to just sort out something quickly.
Yeah, no worries, man. So, at the moment, we're on board with Norris. He's obviously going purple in the first two sectors. But being the first person, one of the first people around the track, is not difficult. I think it's going to be interesting to see if we even end up with more than two Mercedes power unit cars in the top 10. Just from eyeballing it, it does very much look like the Honda and the Ferrari power units have gained substantially on last year.
Oh,
As,
definitely.
yeah. As we were theorising in practice, it was very much like a possibility that it's the Mercedes power units that are struggling with the new E10 fuel or something.
A strong possibility because yeah, they just don't seem to be as powerful as they were last year.
Yeah, very much so.
Provisional 1-2 for Haas.
I would never have predicted that in my entire life of watching F1. So yeah,
This is so good to see.
so that's a 130.4 for Magnussen and 130.5 for Schumacher at the moment. I still feel weird saying Schumacher.
Yeah, especially considering, as you said, like that they are at the front, not a place where we are used to see them. Oh, Science has got a purple first sector.
I need like four more. I need another monitor for the live timings.
Mm. Leclerc has absolutely smashed the first sector, going 3 tenths quicker.
That's to be expected from that Ferrari. Is freaking rapid.
Indeed. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them ended up like on pole instead of Max.
Well, that's interesting. Russell just went fastest in Sector 1.
Oh, he's on the mediums as well. It's interesting.
It kind of
But
says,
only two purple sectors.
it does say to me that the Ferraris aren't going all out yet, especially given what we saw in practice.
Hmm.
I tell you what, I do like that left-hander and the one. Like, who are we on board with? It's one of the Ferrari boys. I can't tell which one it is from the camera, but it's sloped, so it's cambered in towards the corner. It looks so much fun. It looks like a very large, like Nürburgring carousel.
Indeed. I like the banked corner, yeah.
I just wonder the first person we're going to see crash. I mean, even if it doesn't happen during qualifying, it's definitely going to happen during the
Mhm.
race.
Well, hopefully no one. Oh wait, Latifi. Oh, red flag.
Did I just call it?
I think so. Latifi was stopped by the track. I think we're gonna get a helmet cam. I think he crashed precisely on the corner we were just talking about. Oh,
I think you're a few seconds ahead of
that
me
looked
again.
violent.
Ooh,
Ooh,
yeah,
that didn't look good.
he's missed one barrier by must be like 1 millimeters.
We just turned in too aggressively and lost control of the car. Oh,
Showing that Williams is still skittish, isn't it?
yeah. It's just really unstable, like through the corner. Hmm.
I know we're only. Well, what is it? This is of the year. We had what? Three, four, five. 5 sessions last week. 6, 7, 8. This is the ninth
Hmm.
session this year. And Latifi is already looking, to me, like he's underperforming. I mean, he was
Hmm.
beaten last time out by Albon, who had a year off. And in this one, he's binned it in Q1.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think that the Williams really favors the driving style of both their drivers. But Albon is showing more adaptability in that sense.
Absolutely. But it is the better drivers in all that tend to overcome the problems of the car and adapt.
Indeed.
Saying it though, this breed of F1 cars is definitely showing that it's catching out certain drivers. Ricciardo last year was an absolute anomaly. He was either there or he was 2 seconds behind Lando, a lap. But
Indeed.
I know maybe Latifi is a godlike performer, but he just cannot drive these cars, which is interesting. I don't think I'm going to be putting any bets on Latifi winning the World Championship in the next couple of years, mind you. Bless him. I mean, these drivers must have epic
Yeah.
amounts of skill, even paid drivers, but some of them are just
Indeed.
not coping compared to the others. Yeah, so that red flag ruined a lot of laps.
Let's see how they solve the issue. At first, it's good to know that he's okay, not of the car, but that's gonna be a headache for Williams.
Absolutely. Well,
On their quick maintenance.
if anything, again, it might be a slight blessing because that allows them to scoot around Parc Ferme, set up the car completely for the race,
That's a good point, actually.
yeah, and see what happens. And if it's anything like last year when it was an absolute carnage fest, all they got to do is stay out of trouble. He says.
So far, having a look at the top 10, well, there's definitely going to be a shuffle when we go back racing. But it's looking interesting so far, this top 10.
Well, so got 11 minutes 22 seconds. There's a lot of laps that can be done in there. But I think that all the big teams are going to be wanting to go through on those medium tyres, save the super softs. That's a Gran
Oh,
Turismo term,
true.
isn't it? Super softs.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Russell is in the, I mean, at least for now, that he's in the top 10 with the medium tires.
Very much so.
Curious to see how Hulkenberg will do during quali because just like Magnussen, it's his first time driving around here, and that Aston seemed like a tricky car to drive.
I've got to say I agree with you on that. I think we're going to be. It's going to be surprising to see either of those Astons out of Q1.
Mm.
Here's a theoretical question for you: how many Mercedes power unit engines are we going to see in the top in Q3?
Oh, that's interesting. Um,
Although I tell you what, before you answer that, I will take this grid right now for tomorrow. Magnussen, Mick, Norris, Ricardo, Russell, Zoe Grenu, Stroll, Albon, Hulkenberg, Latifi, Hamilton, and then followed by Ferrari. And I would take that grid.
yeah, just especially to see the McLaren boys that far up the grid, and the Haas boys, of course. Um, in answer to your question, that's interesting because from what we've seen in FP1, sorry, in FP3, we have no Mercedes powered cars within the top 10. But then again, like we know how free practice is, so
Yeah,
not exactly too representative um, of the actual performance of the car.
yeah,
Um, I reckon I could see probably if like if a Mercedes powered car gets into the top 10, I'd reckon it would be like just one of the Mercedes boys or both of them even. Um, but they seem to be struggling.
they really
Uh,
do. I mean, even
Some drivers are coming out on track as well.
oh, good to him. But on the feed I'm looking at, Anthony Davidson's just showing Hamilton go around the corner and he's just losing the back end. So
Ooh,
that Mercedes is looking tricky as well.
yeah, especially with the porpoising, they still haven't figured out a solution to that problem. And from the onboards I've seen, they see the drivers are suffering hard with that issue.
Absolutely, definitely.
Let's see, all the cars that still haven't set a lap time are now on track.
I think you're about a minute and a half ahead of me.
Oh
But
no.
mine haven't even come out of the pits yet. There they go. So I've got a minute and 15 seconds on Q1 left. Sorry,
How
11
much
minutes
time?
and 10
Sorry.
seconds.
Oh yeah, I'm going to 10 minutes and 5 seconds just now.
Yeah, 1 minute ahead of me.
Okay, so let's see. So the drivers should be starting their laps soon.
Let's see how many of those Mercedes powered cars actually get through into Q1, the Q2 rather. But it's got to be a race
Hmm.
between those Ferrari and those Red Bull lads.
Yeah, let me be honest. Um, I think we should change that question too. Like, how many Mercedes? I mean, what Mercedes powered cars are going to make it into Q2?
Mm,
Because I think most likely, um, like the five drivers that are eliminated are going to be in Mercedes powered cars.
I think you might be right. Here's a question for Crofty if you were listening. What is the
Hmm.
last time we didn't have a Mercedes powered vehicle in the top 10? I mean, how many years
Hmm.
is that going to go back? We've had, it's got to be at least 2014. Before that, you've got Mercedes powering McLaren and like Force India, through the 2000s. There's,
Yeah.
there's no way, say, Force India and McLaren, and whom else was powered by Mercedes back then? I'll have to have a think. But there's no way all of them were going to be outside the top 10.
Yeah.
I might have to
Surely
look
that
through.
have to
Um,
be one.
I may have to look through the record books to find out.
Not really sure, to be honest. Oh, Verstappen is. Oh, Bottas is on provisional pole now, but Verstappen is putting in a brilliant. Oh, Stroll in second. Sorry, Stroll in third.
I haven't seen
Verstappen
that.
third on pole.
I still haven't seen that lap yet.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right. I can see the live timing. It's all lighting up. I've just seen. Ooh, I've just seen a change from the Ferraris. That is epic.
Oh, Perez is in second. Oh, Verstappen just put in a stonking lap.
Well, wait till you see the live time and catch up with the feature, catch
Ooh,
up with the live action.
ooh, you're gonna love the times from the Ferrari boys now.
I can see it on the live timing. That's
Wow.
cracking. 28.5, which is
8
getting on to
seconds.
that's getting on
Wow.
towards last year's pace.
Oh, Russell P4 now on the softs.
Last year's top Q time from Saudi Arabia from Hamilton was a 28.4, and so Sainz is only 4 tenths off of that. These cars are extremely quick around here.
And I reckon that with a few more upgrades, they'll surely either just be matching the pace of last year's cars, which is not sure if we are still a long way from that, but at least getting really close to those times.
It's entirely possible. A new rule set like this really does A, shake up the order, and B, give the designers a lot to play with.
Indeed. Really the one of the good things about the regulation changes, especially when they are this drastic.
Absolutely. And we've had, what, 8 years of Mercedes dominance. When you think about it, that's nearly twice the dominance that Ferrari had. That's
Indeed.
amazing.
And literally twice the domination years from Red Bull, even like
Absolutely.
more recently.
Very much reminds me of what Williams had through the late 80s through to the mid 90s. But
Mhm.
you can go back into any era and see a team that dominated. But I think that is now officially come to an end with Mercedes. They have to pull something out of the bag in the next few races because they are. Where's Hamilton at the moment? 13th. And
Yeah.
Russell. Well, Russell's fourth. That's surprising actually, but he's still 8 tenths down on the Ferraris. So that is mad.
Let's see here. Ricardo is currently out of the top 15. And Gasly is yet to put a lap in, proper lap in, I reckon.
And Sonoda hasn't set a time yet.
Yeah, he just went back into the pits. Not sure what happened there.
Yeah, well, he might have a technical problem with those Hondas do seem fragile.
Ooh. Norris in P5.
How did he manage that?
Well, Bottas just improved this time and is now fifth. I'm not really sure.
I might. I'm not going to call it, but I'm going to say Sainz may out qualify Leclerc. Because he is looking good this weekend.
Oh, Magnussen P7 now. Yeah, like Sainz That time will be very hard to beat. Speaking of that, Verstappen just set a purple second sector.
I just lost the entire feed from the F1 coverage.
Oh no.
That was odd. My Xbox actually switched off.
Gasly's in P5. Now Perez. Wow. All the drivers seem to be wanting that fifth position today.
Where it's always one gets it and then they all shuffle around again.
Oh, Hamilton is in 16th.
I think he's setting some green times, or at least he has done. He's still 1.6 down on the timing screen.
Hmm. I think Mick might be improving this lap, not sure.
So, okay.
Okay, Mick is in P11 now.
So
Improved on his lap.
Okay, so he's going to probably get through to Q2 at least. Which should probably be only his second time, won't it? Probably maybe excluding Spa. Can't
I
remember if
mean,
he got
he was in Q2 on Turkey last year, if I remember correctly.
I'll trust you on that one.
Not really sure if he... Yeah, and bar that one on... I'm not really remembering any other times that he made it into Q2.
I knew it would have been a wet race, is why I said Spa. I took a guess.
Hmm.
So Hamilton, with what must be 2 minutes left to go, is 100th outside the top 15.
Surely he won't be eliminated now.
So how far is he behind Russell in terms of lap time? 29.6 to... Oh, he's 9 tenths down on Russell. There's something...
Hmm.
Is either something wrong with that car or he's just not picking up the pace? And he said on team radio, I can't seem to improve.
I'm actually curious to know, how long has it been since Hamilton last didn't make it into Q2?
Excluding a mistake, like spinning off the track or mechanical failure.
Hmm.
You know what? I can't even think of a single occasion that's ever happened.
Hmm. Just, just weird to see Mercedes, like, and himself especially, on such a such a low position. And as we speak, Bottas just improved his time and is now fifth again.
They all like that fifth place.
It's only 3 milliseconds behind Russell.
Well, these overall times aren't going to matter too much.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on.
So roughly.
Brazil.
Oh, Zhou Yu improved. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Crofty just said Brazil 2017 was the last Q1 elimination for Hamilton.
Ooh. Wow, we really go far back.
So that's for at least 4.5 years. I don't
Wait,
even remember.
But wasn't that season when he crashed into a barrier as well?
I honestly don't remember. It might have been wet qualifying because there was a couple of years at Brazil where it absolutely hammered down.
Yeah, you're right.
And they were,
Sure now.
yeah, they were red flagging the session repeatedly. It might have been that year.
Oh, Hamilton just made it
All right, I'll get
in
there.
15. Oh, Stroll managed to do a better time. I think Hamilton is out. Yeah, I think he's out. Unless he manages to improve on this lap. Not sure if he's even able to do another lap. The timer has...
Well, you better have some fuel left in that Mercedes because he's always going to be eliminated.
Oh my.
I'm looking at Ricardo being 12th at the moment. So that's an improvement from McLaren,
Yeah.
it would seem, but it looks like Hamilton is the one really struggling, despite being, well, theoretically the only victor here so far.
Wow, I'm shocked with this. And Sonoda didn't even wasn't even able to put a lap in.
So yeah, Sonoda must have some problems.
Not really sure what happened, as I'm not listening to the commentary, but I saw footage of him just stop with his car stopped in the pit box of AlphaTauri.
Well, that would mean that Hamilton would have been 17th then, only ahead of Hulkenberg and the Williams, most with all
Yeah.
likelihood.
Wait, I think Hamilton is still setting another lap in
He's got the checkered
something
flag.
yellow sector so far. I'm not sure if it's going to improve.
That is a bit stunning to see Hamilton eliminated.
Wow, he's out. He's actually out. Wow, I'm shocked right now.
Are we going to see a clear divide of Mercedes power units over the certain tracks where it is power dependent?
Hmm.
Think of what other tracks are on the near calendar. Probably what Baku. Australia's now a lot more
Yeah.
of a power track, but
Yeah.
it's been smoothed out.
Um. Really sure to be fair. Let me have a look at the
Imola after this.
schedule. So yeah, we have. No, wait, we have
Oh,
Australia.
Australia then Imola, sorry.
So we have. Oh, and then after Imola, it's the Miami GP.
Let's just face it, it'll be a lot of 90 lefts, 90 rights, and a lot of straights.
Yeah, there's really just one big straight, and the rest is all like really twitchy and even I reckon off cambered corners. It's an interesting layout, definitely. Um,
Well, this is going to be fascinating for the rest of the year to see the development or potential scrapping of this Mercedes car. If they get, say, a third the way into the year, they might just go, not quit the sport, but quit this season, as it were, like Haas did last year.
yeah, and I'm just wondering. I think that if uh, Lewis doesn't have a guarantee from Mercedes that their car um, will have a better performance next season, I don't see him staying for much longer, really.
Yeah, you wouldn't, as a seven-time champion, you wouldn't want to be running around in the midfield.
Yeah, but then there's another question that arises: like, if he was to retire,
Mm-hmm.
would you think that he'd retire on a low?
A lot of the drivers don't have a choice in a matter. They can't transfer into a team with complete foresight. I mean, Alonso has a history of traveling to a team just after they've won something, and then they're on a downturn. With the
Mm.
exception of the Renault in 2004, 5, 6. After that, he made all the wrong choices.
Oh yeah. If we look back, like in hindsight, Alonso could have been like in championship winning cars, but just don't know. Maybe they didn't believe in what they were offering, or just the prospects of having a car with a good performance. Um, yeah, it's intriguing sometimes to realize how kind of small how these like small decisions, not really small actually, but how these decisions can really influence the outcome of a driver's career.
Exactly. And if he ever gives advice on where to move or what to do, I will be doing the opposite of what Alonso says. But we have a Roses in the chat, and he has just very simply said, "What did we just witness?"
I'm
Um,
not sure, to be honest.
no, I mean, do you know what I think the bigger shock is actually, and it's something that's a little bit more subtle. Russell's P4, Hamilton P16. What has gone on there?
Yeah, I'm just, I'm shocked, really.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense, does it?
Really don't know what to say about that. Just, I mean, we all knew by this point that um, Mercedes's performance dropped off, but just to see this discrepancy between the level of performance in the drivers in this session, just shocking, really.
Absolutely. And first off, hello to Xenos as well. And he's raised a very, very good point. This is why he
Mm.
was annoyed with last year, because it could have been Hamilton's last World Championship, and he really wanted to cheer on the new talent, but he's wanting Lewis to do well, and this is now this
Yeah,
is rubbing salt into the wounds. But I will say it is only 2 races in, and with all the talk of this is Mercedes out and whatnot, they are a
yeah,
quality team. Give them time. I think we will see a win from them, but it's not going to be anytime soon.
yeah. But like, if there's a team who has just like the conditions to turn a situation like this around, it's definitely Mercedes.
Mm. Although we have a counterpoint from Roses saying he's loving
Mm.
it how Mercedes have just gone downhill. It's quite
Oh,
amusing. We do get allegiances to certain teams, and I completely get it. And I've always been, since the Ferrari domination days, a McLaren guy,
mm.
and I find it very disheartening to see them last week at the back. But so far, at least in the last session, they are both through to Q2. So we'll see what the next
Yeah,
2 races bring us. And this is only the second qualifying session of the year, at least. But it does bring Roses a lot of joy to see that Merck are not top dog. And do you know what? I think that's something we will all agree with. To see a resurgent Ferrari
mm.
and a very, very talented Red Bull team fighting tooth and nail for hundreds and thousandths of a second, that is brilliant to see.
Let me be honest. I was a bit skeptical when people were saying, like, after last season, that Red Bull had focused so much on the performance of their 2021 car that they were going to be hit um, this year, just like it happened. I think it was like back in 2014, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm just uh, amazed as to how they've managed to build just such a strong car
It's
for
jaw
the
dropping,
season
isn't
as
it?
well.
Absolutely jaw dropping. There is one very key factor about Red Bull. It's
Mm.
not just the one man, Adrian Newey, but every time there's a rule change, probably with the exception of 2017, they have done very well.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Maybe like their efforts weren't really appreciated because of like how dominant Mercedes was.
yeah. So I may actually revise that because I've just remembered 2014 and it was somewhere in the midfield. But Zeno says he's loving this too, and if it wasn't for last year's shit show, which I think a lot of us will agree with, and not as
Mhm.
Hamilton fans or anything like that, it it is fantastic to see F1 going racing without the FIA and Michael Masi being mentioned in every sentence. So
Oh yeah,
it's good to see
sure.
the on-track action taking the limelight.
There wasn't really any like controversy last weekend.
No, not one bit, which is great. Rosa says Haas master plan has come to work with, with all the Russian money. I heard a good stat actually that the Russian Uralkali money only
Mhm.
was about 10 to 15% of their budget, and they'll soon, with the
Oh.
performance that you're seeing here, they would have soon plugged that hole with new sponsors.
Mhm. Just watching an article on the engine freezes, And so there are two homologation deadlines. One that has already is already due was to the 1st of March 2022, by which time the manufacturers had to freeze the ICE, the turbo, the MGUH, exhaust system, fuel specification, and the engine oil specification. But up until the 1st of September 2022, they're still going to be allowed to change the control electronics, the energy store, and the MGUK.
Okay, so the electronic side basically.
Yeah,
Okay,
pretty much.
uh, the electronic and electric, I should say, two different things. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's interesting. So the hybrid side is still being developed. That's interesting. That is very interesting. Yeah, I think we were all very, very happy to see the racing last season. As Enos has said, the racing last weekend was wicked, and it was absolutely great. Especially to see
Indeed.
Leclerc and Verstappen go wheel to wheel and not take each other out, which is something we sort of didn't
Yeah.
mention much about.
Ooh, Perez just set the purple second sector,
He has indeed.
and he's in second now.
Yeah, those Red Bulls are quick.
Oh, Norris and Ricardo in the top 10
This is.
so far.
We'll see what happens when the Alfa Romeos get
Yeah,
round the track. I'll tell you
yeah,
what
they
though,
should be starting up
yeah,
soon.
we do have an Aston Martin in Q2 though. That's something we didn't mention, that they Stroll did make it through, and
Yeah, he
yeah,
eliminated Hamilton
they
in
did
the
actually.
end.
He did eliminate Hamilton. That is an improvement on last weekend for them. But look, I'm absolutely stunned at the moment with the turnaround of performance of those McLaren boys.
Yeah, but wasn't expecting this, especially after free practice. They didn't seem all that strong.
Rose is making a prediction. Stroll is not making it out of Q2.
Hmm.
I'm agreeing with you, mate. Right.
Alonso Q3.
So who's going to be the five eliminated?
Oh,
Stroll.
yeah, probably agree with you on that.
The two Alpine boys. Maybe. Ricardo. Do you know what? I don't know. I can't pick another person. Maybe Joe.
Maybe Joe, yeah. Still, that Alpha looks quick. Let's see what Verstappen does on his lap.
I've just spotted Russell did his P3 time. No, sorry. He's now P6.
P6.
Yeah, he's now P6. He did that on the medium tyres, I believe.
Mm. Oh,
Yes.
look at that top four, only separated by like a few tenths.
Yeah,
It's
those.
just 1/10 separating uh, Carlos to Charles.
And they are barely faster than their Q1 times at the moment. In fact, Sainz is slower than his Q1 time.
Slower, yeah.
Rosa says Stroll, Alonso, Rick, Mick, and Zoo. How do you say it?
Hmm.
Zo, isn't it?
I think it's one year Joe, but that might be like
It's actually
the
Zo.
English, more
Hmm.
of an English British pronunciation.
Yeah, you already know we
It's
can't
actually
say Interlagos properly.
Joe.
We read it phonetically as we know it. Xenos, the tyre ranks have changed this year. The Q2
Yes, they did.
time that they set the fastest time on, they do not carry those tyres over to the start of the Grand Prix anymore.
Yeah.
Other than that, we've got the 18-inch wheels, and there's the tyre warmers are reduced by I think 10 or 20 degrees down to 70 degrees. So when the cars come out of the pits, they actually have to work at warming up their tyres properly.
So Bottas is
Ooh,
P6.
Ocon got balked by one of the McLaren boys.
Oh,
Here's Ricardo. That's going to rub salt in his day.
He was right on the racing line as well. That could have been dangerous. Mm. Ocon definitely won't be happy at that.
No, not even slightly.
Oh, Mick is in P9. Magnussen P13. Okay. I'm really surprised with Alonso's time.
Well, on the stream I'm looking at, he's showing him as 10.5 seconds down. What's the live timing say?
So
Fifth.
Alonso is fifth, like half a
Right.
tenth behind Leclerc at the moment.
Okay. So those Alpines, powered by the Renault engines, obviously have a lot of pace around here. So looking at the live timing screen, Hamilton is obviously he's last session. The live timing screen showing Ocon, Stroll, Magnussen, Ricardo, Zoe in the relegation zone.
Mm.
Interesting. We've got Norris hanging around in 8th. Mick
In
Schumacher
eighth,
in
yeah.
9th at the moment. Magnussen's not looking that strong at the moment. Sitting in 13th.
Mm. But then again, remember that it's his first time driving around here as well, and especially after a comeback.
Yeah.
I think he
Ooh.
might have slightly improved on the first sector.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm looking at the stream and it's showing the Alpha Tauri of Gasly's having its floor duct taped up.
Mm. Yeah, I saw that just now.
So that shows the circuit is destroying the cars a little bit.
Yeah, those curves seem to be like really high in some of the sections of the track.
We saw Verstappen do it in FP3, cut straight across the curb when he was going for a hot lap. And it looked like he rattled his teeth out. Oh, out.
Oh, oh,
Oh, that's what the
oh
comments were
my!
talking about. Oh, I wasn't saying anything.
Oh my!
Was that
Oh, let's
Magnussen or
hope
Mick?
he's okay.
Was that Magnussen or Mick?
I think it's Mick. I just couldn't see the. I think it was Mick Schumacher. Oh, that was scary.
They are built to take those impacts, so he'll be fine. But that
I hope
is,
he's okay.
that, as Zenos has put it absolutely accurately, well, that's a big one. And I'm not even going to say that's what she said. I'm going to think it really loudly, though.
And they did a few. Not sure if you knew, but they did a few safety changes around the track. Um, just adding some more soft layers to the walls, um, and just overall just widened a few parts of the track as well. But this still seems really it's really dangerous to me.
Well,
This track.
it's a street track and it's inherent in its nature. It's just, I describe this track as a very fast Monaco.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, because that's the main problem. It's just that it's a narrow track, but they are actually going at high speeds for most of the lap.
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's going to be.
Mm, I
There's
think
no way
that's
that power unit from mixed car is going to make it into service again. That's got to be a write off for the back end of that car.
wow.
That's costly.
Yeah, it's going to give a lot of work to the Haas mechanics as well, because that car does not look good in the slightest.
Well, on the flip side, if they were to have another red flag after this, then you might see Schumacher start in the top 10 for the first time come tomorrow,
Yeah,
despite
could
having
be.
half a car destroyed. Buttons just said he was definitely he'd got to be winded after that. I mean, Button's had his fair share of crashes over the years in many form, especially F1. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the G meter read on that one because that did look like a big ouch moment.
That was really scary. So they are working on Gasly's floor right
But
now. Ooh, I think you'll be able to see that in a second.
I just had a message from an old friend who says that was a big crash from Mick Schumacher. So word is travelling around the world. He hopes that Mick's okay. He will be okay. The
I
F1 drivers
hope
are
so.
they are made of really quite stern stuff. And as Roses has said, K Mag will now need a good lap after they clean that up. Who
Indeed.
is down in 13th at the moment. But there's still a bunch of drivers that can still get into the top 10. In fact, there's not anyone on there I don't think could. So it's going to be tight. Well, except for maybe Stroll. It looks
I'd be
like,
shocked to see Stroll in Q3.
yeah, same. It looks like they've got a heat gun on, was it Gasly's underfloor? So it looks like they're trying to
Yeah,
melt a few bits back together again.
yeah, it just seemed to be like a
And it is,
big part of it missing.
yeah, and it is standard procedure. Once there is an impact over a certain G threshold, for the driver to stay in the car and they are extracted with the aid of the medical professionals and taken to hospital for checks for various concussion related injuries and, well, basically
Yeah.
given a full MRI.
Ooh, look at the amount of debris on track as well. Once you get to see the image,
Did he hit
wow,
a soft barrier or an Armco or an Aramco Armco?
I'm not quite sure actually. I can't recall which ones um, they've added a soft layer on. Um,
As we know from various GT sports and all various game racings, if there's a bit of barrier, you're more than likely to miss where normal people would crash and find your own little place to have an accident. I mean, at least in a racing game, it doesn't matter. But in F1, as we've seen time and time again, they will. I can see the debris. Wow. But as you see time and time again, they will find a weird place to put their car. I mean, you only have to look at
yeah.
Kimi Raikkonen for that one. Yeah, that is a big clear up. That is hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of damage to that car. Just all over the track. I won't be surprised if that car is an entire write-off.
Oh, definitely. Reminded me of Leclerc's shunt last year when he ran a different corner. And yeah, as you said previously, Russell was on the medium tires.
He's showing pace around here. But how has he unlocked the pace of the car compared to Hamilton?
Mm, not really sure, to be honest.
I do hope we haven't got a similar situation to what McLaren had last year when we had Norris, who was in tune with the car, and Ricardo in every other race just couldn't drive it.
Yeah,
Hopefully, the driving style of that Mercedes isn't akin to that. Although that's another point to think about. Russell said the Williams last year was always on a complete knife edge. It was either good or terrible, nowhere in
mm,
between. I'm wondering if the Mercedes this year is a little bit like that, and Russell, with the experience of driving a very nervous car, can drive around it, and Hamilton isn't used to it.
maybe. Um, it does seem a bit wobbly at times. So he's been talking quite a while now with the Pitwall members. Just there, his engineer, Adrian Newey, and even Christian Horner. Right.
I find it fascinating how some drivers get out and walk around and other drivers stay seated. I mean, personally, I'd be wanting just to stay in the car unless I am physically uncomfortable. But they've all got seats moulded to them. I'd be tempted just to stay there. But then again, they don't know how
Yeah,
long the red flag's going to be.
exactly.
So, tricky decision.
Yeah.
If Kimi
I'm
Raikkonen was
gonna
still here, he'd be out of the car right now eating an ice cream.
have oh, definitely. Oof, you're gonna have the images of how Mick's car looks in a moment. Wow.
Um, well, seeing it the once, I could only see. Well, I saw 3 of the 4 corners ripped off. It is surprising that they're not really showing any replays of it. I think they're doing similar to what they did a couple of times last year when they wouldn't show a crash immediately after until the driver was extracted and known to be okay.
Yeah. Oh, there's an angle here on which
Yeah,
you'll clearly see how much damage there is to the car.
yeah.
Wow.
It's like one corner on that car looks like it's okay. And of course, these cars, if they've had a big impact like that, the batteries can indeed just catch fire. And it,
Oh,
it always does seem
oh
to be.
my, oh my. Wow, you're gonna see something, and it's going to be shocking, really. Oh,
I'm awaiting. For anyone
oh
who
my.
doesn't know, Pedro's feed is about 50 to 60 seconds ahead of mine. And I can already see the chat lighting up. Xenos has already gone, geez. So this might be good. Oh, don't tell me they dropped the car.
You'll see, you'll see. Oh my, that didn't look good in the slightest. Way. We're in a bit of a pickle.
I can see it's going to come apart or something, isn't it?
Yep.
Oh dear.
Oof. Yeah, if there were any doubts about uh, how much of the car they could still say, uh, now there are no doubts left.
I
Car
think
is a complete
that
write-off.
that car is not insurable.
Oh
That
my.
that I think that is very much in relation to what we saw with Grosjean's crash at Bahrain a few years ago. That car is
Yeah.
designed to split apart under higher impact so that the energy is dissipated through the heavier components, leaving the driver cell intact. So seeing it do that from an engineering point of view is actually quite good. I mean, it means the design
Yeah.
features have worked.
Yeah.
And yeah, the fuel is in the big half of the. Are they still winching that with the fuel lines attached, or what those lines are?
So
Because that looks idiotic. But it's good to see that the car has split how it has. But that is one hell of
yeah,
a rebuild job.
they've removed it now. But it's like just the three main parts of the car are all split now because the car lost most of the nose. Then you just have the cockpit bit with the side pods, and then just the rear wing, the bit with the rear tires. So yeah,
Yeah, that car is definitely a write-off, I'm afraid.
wow. But it also does show like how much safety has improved throughout the years in F1.
Absolutely. Be interesting to see how much that affects a driver watching the mentality of how they go about racing. I mean, we know some drivers, Verstappen, you know, all the big guys are just going to go, well, it didn't happen to me. Let's go for it. But who would it
Yeah.
shake up out there?
Uh, Good question, actually.
I remember it was a Martin Brundle interview a few years back. He was talking about one of his big crashes. I think it was either at the French circuit, Paul Ricard or Manicourt, whichever one it
Mm.
was, or one. Anywho, it doesn't really matter where it was. But he had a really big crash and then jumped in the spare car as they had back in that era. And the first
Yeah.
question he asked the mechanics was, "Okay, what track am I at?" He didn't know where he was, and they sent him out.
Oh my.
And that
Oh, that's a good point, actually, from Roses.
it would shake up Seb from that crash because he knows how close those are. Those are Michael. That's a very valid point. Seb isn't racing this week though. It's Hulkenberg.
Yeah. So we might be watching the.
Yeah, it had occurred to me about Michael, but given Michael and Mick, Michael would know how many big crashes he had during his F1 career, and with the exception of one where he broke his leg, he walked away from them all.
Hmm.
I don't remember ever seeing him extracted from a car, other than that Silverstone freak brake failure that he had and then broke his leg.
Oh, I remember that back when the main straight used to be at the other end of the track,
hmm
wasn't it?
hmm If I remember correctly, that was 1999
Hmm.
because he come back at the end of the year after recovering for quite a few months with pins in his leg still. It was at Malaysia, and they went, "Is Michael going to be any good? Is he going to go lost in your speed?" And he instantly went a second quicker than his teammate and 2 seconds quicker than Hakkinen, who was the title
Wow.
winning person that year. He just came back and went ballistic, and then
Yeah,
promptly next year won the championship. So
that really kind of showed how, like, his mindset,
yeah,
really, type of person he was.
yeah. I
Going
think
on the trend of like the drivers that might be affected, I'd say Leclerc and Gasly as well.
yeah. As Rosa said regarding Michael, it's like having a godfather, a god tier father having a Michael there. It's a shame he's not with us the same way he used to be, but I think we'll
Yeah,
eventually learn how he is, and we'll hopefully find out he's paying a lot of attention to his son's career. And as some of the cars still show, keep fighting Michael. I think we can all back that one.
yeah. I think Roses was talking about Vettel, saying that he's like a lot
Ah,
better
yeah,
than Mick.
sorry, I misunderstood that one. Yeah, yeah. I think he might be, or at least he's spiritual. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes more sense than what I was thinking. I think a lot of times we've seen Vettel and Mick out the back of the garages playing football together, which is quite sweet.
Yeah, they just get along really well, and you can
Yeah,
see like how much they mean to each other.
yeah. Well, Michael was always Vettel, Seb's partner in the Race of Champions, wasn't he?
Yeah, I do
So
remember
yeah,
a few of them.
I think they won it a couple of times as well.
Yeah, Zenos did say if they start thinking about crashes and impacting their races, they wouldn't be F1 drivers. They have to block these emotions out on track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm going to bring in a little bit of Hollywood for this bit. Rush, louder. You watched it last week, didn't you, with us?
Indeed.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and that was very much when, okay, admittedly, the Hollywood dramatizes the
Yeah, there
whole
was a bit of
thing, but when you start thinking like, say, like the end of the movie where Lauda pulls in and just goes, you know what, that's enough, at least for this race. If you start doing that on a consistent basis, then your time as an F1 driver is probably over.
yeah. It's like it's really interesting to see how sometimes resilient and emotionally mature the drivers need to be in these situations. Like they almost have to step away from like their human essence and just
Yeah,
forget everything that went on.
yeah, just focus on there and then and themselves. I'll tell you what, though, that is scary. I'm just looking at the live feed, and they are
Mm.
physically moving the barrier back into place. That was a much bigger shunt
Yeah.
than, I suppose we only really saw it from the side around the curb. It's going to be interesting to see, if at all, if they got one on it, a driver's perspective.
I'd like to have a look at the replay of that accident. Just see really what happened there.
Was it Mick last year that crashed during Saudi Arabia qualifying as well? I think it was.
I think it was during the race, wasn't it?
It was during the race, yes, because then they had
Mm.
that weird period where Hamilton pitted, Verstappen stayed out, and then it went red flag afterwards. Yes, you are right.
Yeah, because if I do remember correctly, it was around the same corner where Leclerc crashed during qualifying, I think, or either on free practice.
I'm going to trust you on that one.
See, many drivers will be willing to get back on track and see if they can improve their times.
Well, we've still got 4 minutes 58 seconds. That is time for an outlap, and if they've got a set of tyres that will do 2 laps, maybe 2 runs if they are lucky.
Yeah,
But I'll tell you what, I'm not going to put any money on this because we've already seen cars launching over curbs, damaging their under trays. One big crash. I'm not going to be surprised if we see another red flag. I mean, that must be
definitely.
it must be difficult for the drivers. I mean, they get into the zone, and then there's a big crash, and then there's a stop. You have to reset again. And how much does that ruin the mental flow?
Hmm.
So for the better drivers, it doesn't matter. Just switch on and go.
Yeah. Even then, like there are drivers that can deal better with those situations than others.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just as you said, like it just um, it's the flow of life of them at that point. Okay, so they're still in track, it seems.
I'm looking at Latifi's spin, and
Ooh, that was a big shunt as well.
yeah, the two big was as we said, it's a high speed track. So he's been talking to the media, so he must be fine.
Okay, now the truck that was cleaning that side of the track should be coming off soon.
It is interesting to see this that they are actually bothering to clean the tracks. It used to be, from when I grew up watching F1, oh, there's been a big
Mm.
crash. There's oil down there. Throw a bit of chalk and dust down there. Right, go on, carry on, lads. And I remember very much growing up with
Oh,
this. I mean, there was big crashes every other weekend in F1. I remember, I think it was Luciano Berti who went off, I think, at Blanchimont in Spa, took off
Mm.
and barrel rolled directly over or into a load of tyres. And then,
That crash.
and then there was never any long lasting injuries. Okay, I know for him he did have some. When I say brain damage, I don't mean he was physically injured, but he was shaken like a big
Mm.
concussion for a long time. But I've never,
Mm.
there wasn't any injuries for years and years and years until obviously Bianchi. But it does seem that
Mm.
with the track designs in the last few years, all of these freak crashes and big crashes seems to be happening more and more often. But and I'll
Mm.
admit I was a opponent of the Halo and all of a lot of the devices that they've got now. But the hands device, the Halo, is really earning its money. There's going to
Oh,
be
they are indeed.
yeah, there's going to be a big crash. It's going to be at this circuit, isn't it?
Most likely, unfortunately, but let's hope it doesn't happen. Um,
I used to look forward to the big crashes. Now is maybe it's the speed of the cars as well. Maybe they are not too fast, but maybe they are too fast for the circuit design.
since you've spoken about Spa, um, I'm curious to see how the racing will be like with their new like safety changes that are going to be made on the track.
Yes, that's true. On the left side of Eau Rouge and Radion, they've moved all of the the, the wall and the earth back, haven't they?
Yeah, I think so. That's one of the major changes.
Yeah, that is true.
Because let's be real, that it was still like um, a pretty dangerous corner.
I'd go as far to say it's sketchy. Very, very sketchy. I mean, that is obviously the corner where Anton Hubert was killed.
Yeah,
And the cars just are not built to take multiple impacts. One big impact, and well, yeah, 99 out of 100 times they will walk away from it. But a double impact and that crash structure is already compromised.
yeah, because like the issue was that Correa then just wanted to avoid the other cars and just ended up um, going in his way whilst he was just whilst he had crashed and was just the car was moving towards the area where Correa um, was using to avoid the other cars. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, let's hope those sorts of accidents never happen again.
hopefully not. Yeah. How is Correa doing at the moment? Because last time I saw any news on him, he was still aiming to get back
Mm.
into F2, and he
Yeah,
was a year later. He's only barely started walking again.
yeah, but he's in F3. He took part in last season's F3 season, and he's there again. Um, he did quite well on his return. Um, Not sure about this season because I still haven't watched it. I do remember seeing him in the top places at some point,
Oh, that's good.
so
Does that mean
will
he
be good.
dropped down a formula, or am I just remembering it wrong? Because I remember Hubert
Yeah,
was F2.
yeah, he was in F2 now. He's in F3.
Okay, interesting. Tell you what, I'm very surprised at the length of stoppage on this one because it must have been about 10, 15 minutes already. I think.
I'm watching like a sorry, I'm actually just watching a statistic here that probably might show up in your feed in a second. That says the 2022 car has been designed to withstand 15% more energy in a crash. Goes back from what they've learned on uh, Grosjean's crash. Wow, 15% is still a considerable amount of energy.
15% on something that was the way I look at it, 15% extra energy on a crash that saw Grosjean go through a barrier and get out the other side on fire. That has got to be one hell of a safe sell.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting you
That's
there.
all right. That's all right, man. I mean, you made a very good point there, mate.
There's Giovinazzi on the pits at Ferrari. They're still there. He's their reserve driver for this season, isn't he?
I believe so. And racing in Formula E.
Indeed.
I know it's early to state, but if they find Mick unfit to race tomorrow, who is their reserve driver?
I think it's Fittipaldi, isn't he?
Oh, it could well be. Or, throwing it out there, they call in the madman himself, the Terminator himself. They call back Grosjean. You could have K-Mag and Grosjean again. Oh, God, they hit each other so fast, wouldn't they?
Oh, yeah, especially when, like, the first few years in the seasons where the car was competitive, must have been scary for the team just to see them fighting as hard as they were.
Yeah, we're on for points, lads. Bang.
and even in the last seasons that they were together as teammates, they were still like just banging wheels every race pretty much.
The FIA representative, I don't know if that's one of the new two directors, but he is really unhappy with the state of the track. And Rosa said it is Pedro Fittipaldi. I could not say Fittipaldi there for a second. And it wouldn't be Grosjean as he's doing IndyCar. But I guarantee if they come back and say, do you want to drive F1 this weekend and maybe get Hall of Points, he'll be like, sorry IndyCar, I'm off.
Let me be honest, I could probably see Grosjean in the future. I don't know, maybe doing a few outages as a reserve driver if needed. If Andretti come into F1, because he's driving for that team in IndyCar.
That is possible. And I tell you what, there were so many rumours about Andretti buying out Haas before the season started, and now Haas are doing well. Those rumours have died. I mean, they've completely gone away. I mean, Gene Haas must be so happy, and not about this crash, but about the pace of Magnussen, particularly last week.
Oh, definitely.
But it would be good to see Andretti come into the paddock, and there be two American teams. I do think Formula One as a whole have a good base in America does need a strong pair of American teams.
Yeah, let's see, like if it actually goes through, because I think they'd have a really solid base to work upon. Really,
absolutely.
Already established an agreement with Renault in terms of their engine supplier, from at least from the latest rumors. I think they actually announced that it would be that way. They managed to get on the grid in the future, and we could probably see an exciting American talent joining the grid in Colton Herta, their driver in IndyCar. It would be interesting to see a talented American driver on the grid.
It would definitely be worth seeing it. I mean, either way, they've got to be better than Scott Speed.
I mean, it wasn't particularly hard, was it?
No, not particularly. It's been a few years since I've watched IndyCar, though. It'd be interesting to check out the talent over there. And I maintain what I say about IndyCar. It is a load of ovals, which are not for me. I mean, they suit the American audience perfect. But they are very, very gutsy drivers that race in that series. And it'd be great to see I'd like to see one oval race every few years in Formula One just to see what would happen.
Hmm.
That's just me. How much
It
would they
would be.
have to adapt the cars though? That's interesting thought, isn't it?
Yeah, since the ride heights of their cars are usually so the cars are usually higher in comparison to the previous ones. Uh, Not really sure actually. Yeah, they do have some like good street circuits as well in IndyCar. Um, but yeah, definitely requires a different skill set from the F1 drivers.
Absolutely. And those cars are far less dependent on downforce, and it is a slower formula. I just remember when they were going around COTA, which is obviously Austin, a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just ignoring the track limits on the final turn. They turned a two corner into a one corner. Just went,
Yeah,
no, just going to go right round the outside. Sod it, lads. But it just shows you the difference in mentality from F1 and IndyCar. I'm not sure during watching that if I was irritated or laughing. It's like the F1 brain goes, oh, for God's sake, Americans. And then the other half goes, that's really quite fun. That's probably what I'd do in a game, you know? I feel a little bit sorry for that marshal that looks like he's been interrogated by the race director.
okay. Mm.
Rosa says Mick has been taken to hospital for a precautionary scan.
Mm.
That's fairly standard. Again, what happens when the impact is over a certain G threshold? It is just sort of standard procedure, and that's part and
Yeah.
parcel of why some tracks, particularly classic tracks, do not have races at the moment because they either don't have the medical facilities on hand or a hospital within a certain radius via
Radius.
helicopter drop off. So once we have impacts like this, they are taken directly to the hospital to be sorted out. I mean, I personally have no doubt he's fine, but as Button said, he's probably winded. But these drivers are itching to get going. I mean, Kimmy would be on his third Magnum by now.
You can tell.
Well, he would be. I think I'm talking myself into an ice cream later. I am surprised that this red flag session is taking so long, and
Well,
maybe
yeah.
it's indicative of the new FIA race direction and the protocols. And so we had
Maybe
a
it's
number of times last year with Michael Massey when he went, okay, green flag, go, and there were still vehicles on the track.
yeah. Like it's been more than 25 minutes now, I think.
A lot of those drivers are going to need to get out because they'll be overheating or need to pee.
Oh, sure. Let me have a look at the weather there. So supposedly 23 degrees near temperature, on track 25 degrees. And being in the pits, sure that must be even harder to deal with.
Yeah. Plus, they've got the multiple layers of overalls, fireproofs, and all sorts. They're going to be sweating. And at the moment, they're showing a replay of Russell against Hamilton, you can see Hamilton is just fighting the back end of his Mercedes. So he's not comfortable in that Mercedes at all.
Yeah, you can see there how much curb George took in comparison to Lewis.
Yeah, that's true. He's definitely closer to the curb compared to Hamilton.
Yeah, Hamilton doesn't look comfortable at all in the car.
Hmm. He was always known as a driver that could wring a time out of a car, even if he didn't like it. But just doesn't look like he has the confidence.
Look at the
Or
amount of corrections he had to do there in that corner.
absolutely, he's fighting the back end.
Ooh.
I wonder if that's where it's porpoising and he's touching the bottom of the track, and then you're just seeing it step out. That could be down
Yeah,
to setup.
maybe. See that the car understeer there in that corner?
Because if you get the setup wrong, you lose your confidence. You lose your confidence, then you're fighting it all the way around.
Indeed. Yeah, but he's not as committed as George. Seems to be like a lot closer to the walls
He does as
and
well.
everything that Lewis. He's just taking advantage of every bit of the track.
I'm still wondering it's something to do with his experience and Williams saying that he can drive the car
Mm.
on a knife edge a lot closer to that edge compared to Hamilton.
I think this track, like the momentum, is really important because if you just lose um, the car in a bit of like in one of those sections of the track, then the rest of the sector can be compromised.
Yeah, it could well
That's
be.
an interesting comparison. Just need to leave very quickly, but I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, no problem. I will carry on. But before you go, if you've already gone, Denta Lima says, it's Pedro. You got a comment
Hello,
saying hello
Kate.
to you. Hey,
Hello,
Katie. Good to
Katie.
see you,
How
sweetie.
are you? Right, I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, no problem. You take your time. Right, so at the moment we are on a stoppage, waiting for the track to be suitable to go racing again. And considering the impact from Mick, I'm a little bit surprised. It's been this long, but they can't race until it is safe, and that is not me being critical. That is just saying how it is, and it's absolutely fair. Hello, Katie. Just woke up from a 5 hour nap. I thought you were going to be streaming Skyrim. Long story short, the son of the 7-time world champion, Michael Schumacher, Mick Schumacher, and that's the only way you're allowed to ever say, describe him. I'm kidding, that's not true. But anywho, Mick has had a big crash. It's not horrendous, but the car is probably written off. Alright, he's fine, the car is screwed. That's probably the politest way of putting that. Unfortunately, I can't show you a picture of it, but the easiest way to describe it is there's 4 sides on the car, and 3 of them are gone, and the car is in 2 pieces. And the driver, Mick, has been taken to the local hospital for precautionary scans, which is, again, it's standard procedure. And the Pedro's back. Yeah, Katie, the F1 drivers are tough. I mean, they're a bit nuts, they're a bit batshit crazy, but they are tough.
Bless you, Katie. I hope you got the rest that you needed.
I think someone had to take take a bigger sleep than what she intended after streaming. After did you stream after we did Pirates last night? So much late streaming is not good for waking up early. Trust me, I know.
Ooh. You're going to see footage of the crash in a second. Oh, wow. Oh, with the impact. Oh my.
Right, for those that are just joining, Pedro's footage is it's about a minute ahead of mine, and I'm anticipating some more footage.
Ooh, and how much the car just stopped way after the site where he crashed. Few issues with my internet at the moment.
Okay, now I'm seeing the footage. So he's going around the tight right hander, the quick left hander, over the curb. Oh, that is a okay. That is a much bigger impact than originally. See, he's broadsided backwards into the corner, and then
Oh, was it just me or was his DRS open at that point?
didn't see that actually. Hey, Brendan, good to see you, buddy. And yeah, big crash for Mick, but he's in hospital having precautionary checks.
I think he was seen talking in that room where they took him
Ooh,
after the crash. Oh no! Actually the DRS opened
yeah,
after hitting the.
yeah, DRS. Probably the mechanism at the top of it snapped and it just flies open.
Oh.
It's not the first impact that bothers me; it's the second impact. But fortunately, it's on the
Yeah.
other side, so it's less important. But if it was an impact on one side and then spin round 360 and impact the same side again, that's when I'd be worried. But you know, he's being taken to hospital, like I said, by helicopters. Got to be within a certain range and a certain grade, and then they check him out. I'll tell you what, that didn't. From the first time we saw that, that didn't seem nearly as bad. But as soon as you see it broadside backwards,
Yeah.
that's bad. Brendan's predicting broken bones.
Let's hope not.
I'm going to say he's going to be fine, knowing the strength of these cars. But use that old Murray Walker phrase, this is F1, and F1 spelled backwards is if. So anything can happen. And apologies if you can hear my neighbours behind me, they tend to shout really loudly.
Just reminding everyone that that statistic showed up that these new cars can actually absorb 15% more energy from the impacts compared with last year's cars.
Absolutely. I can only presume that they've taken so long to get going because, or did they extract a mick from the car, or did they,
Not really
or are
sure.
they just taking long to clear it up? I mean, we can't really see. They're not showing the immediate footage afterwards. Kencho, good to see you again, buddy. This season is crazy. First three out of 4 Honda engines out now, and now Mike's crash. Yeah, absolutely. Not Mike, Mick, because I keep doing that. But yeah, it does. Yeah, those Honda engines, we presume for Sonoda, who's out in Q1, that he's got a mechanical failure of some sort. Those Hondas are looking fragile, but they're at least looking quick. The Mercedes powered cars looks like they're struggling. I mean, with Hamilton now in Q1, I mean that's just unheard of. I mean, again, as Crofty said, that was Brazil 2017, his
17.
last. And Pedro, you have a comment directly for you,
Oh,
and then one
really?
for me. So hello, mate.
Hello, Kaz. Hope you're doing well.
I second that. Good to see you, buddy. I'll tell you what, I was not prepared for this today. I, imagine how the commentators felt when think back to Spa last year. They had to fill so much time. I mean,
Hmm.
I know I can talk about Formula One all day, and people, particularly at work, tell me to shut up after about 5 minutes. No, trust me, it's a well-known phenomena. But yeah, doing it on air professionally, as these guys do, week after week after a red flag or some sort of delay. I mean, it must be a really hard job
Hmm.
for them.
Oh, Russell being cheeky and pointing towards the camera saying to hurry up.
They just want to
He's
get
eager to
going.
get out on track. Yeah.
I mean, the driver's energy and adrenaline levels must drop after a certain point, and they have to wait for it. Well, they don't really want to pick it back up again. They just want to go. I'll tell you, what, I just spotted the Ferrari there. It's got a plug in its bottom right radiator. That's interesting. I wonder if
Mm.
that's a data plug or a refueling or topping up some fluids. That's
That's
interesting.
interesting.
Hmm.
Didn't notice that until we pointed out.
I just want the action to get going. It's I can sit here and I can sit here and watch this all day because it's F1. But I want to see
Yeah.
the cars on track. That's what I'm here for. It's not frustration. It's a desire.
Yeah, it's just the anxiety to see them going back on track, doing some laps.
Exactly that. All right. Here's a question for you regarding
What are
what we've seen in the
mm,
last race and this weekend so far. Who are the two teams that
mm.
are most surprising to you, or yeah,
Mm.
happiest to see doing well?
Okay, so surprising, I'd say Alfa Romeo.
Absolutely.
Um, after the testing, um, I mean Haas, of course. Um, they just had a massive improvement, and it showed. Um, let me say, like surprised in a negative way. McLaren really.
Do you know what? I'm going to echo those thoughts exactly the same. And Roses says House as well. And thank you for the offer, mate. Might take you up on
Mm.
that. And yeah, I mean, there are some good surprises and some bad surprises this year. I'm pleasantly surprised about AlphaTauri the last couple of years. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always viewed them as a Red Bull B team that's just there for the junior program, but they constantly, particularly with Gasly, punch well above their weight.
Indeed, I was impressed with their package last season, and I think they even had a stronger car than Alpine did, and could have easily finished fifth.
Yeah,
I think they were just struck with the inconsistency from Tsunoda, obviously being a rookie.
Absolutely.
Um, Still had to take some time to adjust. Um, but yeah, I was really impressed with their performance.
Absolutely. All right, one more question. Which outside the top three big teams, so Ferrari, Verstappen, and Ferrari, Verstappen.
Hmm.
Well, let's face it, Ribble is the Verstappen show. That was a bit of a Freudian slip, wasn't it? Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes. Outside of those three teams, which driver
Mm.
do you think deserves a top team drive? And as Cass says, what's that? Top.
I mean, the first driver that instantly comes to mind is Gasly,
Yeah, exact same.
just because like of how much he improved since his stint at Red Bull.
Hmm.
Um, and as you said, like a few seconds ago, like how much he's punching above that Alpha Tauri's weight, really.
Absolutely. It'd be good to see him outside the Red Bull family. I think.
Were rumors about the Mercedes, but uh, not really sure. Like, especially now, considering their performance level, like unless they improve um, this massively in the future, I'm not sure if I don't think he deserves to be in a team that treats him as a number two driver.
I agree with that.
Really.
Yeah. Well,
So.
that's a point really. Presuming Hamilton retires at the end of say next year or year after, and Mercedes are
Mhm.
still at the top, top 2 to 3 teams. Who would you replace
Mm.
Hamilton with in the current field? I mean, let's face it,
No.
Ricciardo's getting older now, and he's great, but he's not one of the young. He's
Mhm.
team leader. If he was younger, I would definitely put him in there. But you're going to want a driver that's going to be around for a few
Mm.
years.
But then again, don't I could see Mercedes doing a situation similar to what Red Bull did. Really, just have that young, like up and coming talent. I mean, Verstappen is not really like we all knew how talented he was. Like I could see like a lineup with the younger driver and the more experienced driver, and the opportunity arises.
Possibly
Um,
with
like,
Russell as the team leader.
yeah.
But
Um,
but what about on the current grid? Rose has already stated straight off the bat Norris.
Paris. Yeah, that's one of the people that I was going to say. But then again, um, we've seen that I'm not sure if any of either of them would like to be considered a number two driver, and we've seen what happens when Mercedes just pair up two drivers with a similar performance level and that have just the same eagerness um, to reach certain objectives. In this
Absolutely.
case, like championship, winning the championship.
So well,
I'm not sure.
the biggest problem with Norris Roses is that he has a
Mm,
multi-year deal with McLaren. Off
indeed,
memory,
that as
it's a
well.
very long contract. I mean, there'll be options on it for him to
Yeah,
drop out or whatnot. But I like the idea of Norris and Russell together, but it, I'd
yeah,
almost be tempted to go with Gasly for a 1 year contract, see what
yeah.
happens.
It's like Gasly and Russell would be good, but then again, the same problem arises. Like I don't think either of them would like to be number two driver.
Quite right.
I'm not sure.
I'll tell you what, the green of that Aston is growing on me a little bit. I saw it first and it was really ugly, but
Mm.
under the lights it looks quite pretty.
Yeah, some of the cars do look much better than they looked when the delivery launches happened. Let's see. So the cars are going back on track.
Right, here we go, back on track. We are getting underway again.
They might actually get 2 laps in, depending on how quickly they finish their outlap just now.
Alright. I think it's a dead cert we're going to get the 2 Ferraris, 2 Red Bulls through. I mean, even if they crash
Yeah.
out now, I don't think their times are going to get... They're not going to end up outside the top 10. So top 4. So in the next 6... Obviously, Mick Schumacher's not running, but he could easily be knocked out because he's currently in 9th. Magnussen should get through.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on board with him actually for this lap.
Unfortunately, it's not an option that Formula1.com, which is via the British UK link, has an option to do, because I can't do that, as we figured out earlier on.
Ooh, he was so close to the wall there.
The temperature is apparently coming down a bit, so it's into the 24 rather than 25 degrees. We're actually watching Magnussen on board on the official feed right now, who is warming up his tyres.
You're gonna have a look at the porpoising here. Oh,
I bet. Rosa says, if Mick somehow gets through to Q3 because of the crash, that would be historical. Yeah. It is amazing how often some people have a crash and make it through into the next session. Whoa, yeah, that Magnussen's pass is bouncing around. It looks like it's a jackhammer at the back, doesn't it?
Yeah. He backed off the lap he was doing.
And he's still got opportunity to go again.
A bit risky to leave it all to the last lap, but has to make sure that he nails it, or else he's out.
Sorry, I'm just going, oof, seeing the Haas bouncing around. I mean, that must not be comfortable.
Yeah, like just going through to that bank corner, you could really see it on the onboard cam from his car. Oh, Norris might improve his lap time.
That'd be good. It'd be good to see the McLaren boys get into the top 10. And I did not expect to see that first thing this morning.
Looking good. Oh, he's still 8th, but he's now roughly, yeah, just a little bit over 3/10 behind. No, 30 milliseconds behind Russell.
I love how we're talking F1. Katie's talking about ordering her dinner. Nice.
Don't know what I'm going to have for dinner. Stroll seems to be improving on his lap.
Well, I would expect to see, with the temperature coming down, some times to be coming down. And it looks like Sainz has gone purple in the first sector, personal best in the second. So we are seeing some improvements. I'm not sure why the big 4 are out though. It's just wasting tyres.
Yeah, it's just they have a clear gap to Alonso, so I agree with you on that. And Magnussen is up for a personal best last sector. He improved in sector 2 as well. Let's see, it's P7 now. P7 for Magnussen. Bottas improved his lap time as well, as did Alonso.
I'm looking at Russell's car. It doesn't look like it's porpoising nearly as bad as Hamilton's. The more I see,
that might be the setup.
Yeah, the more I see, I think it's set up with Hamilton.
Ooh, Ocon with the big lap going to P8.
Hey.
Which means that Mick is out. Gasly into P7.
Mick's down to 14th.
Oh, Lando couldn't improve. So both McLarens are out.
Yeah, so Mick's out. Stroll's still on the lap. But let's face it, he's not going to go much faster.
yeah, he doesn't seem to be improving in the sectors, and he might pit. Oh, Russell just made it through.
Yeah, in
Just
10th.
his teeth. Wow. And it seems like my prediction was correct. Only one Mercedes driver, one Mercedes powered car going into Q3, and it's a Mercedes.
Yeah. And hello to Liam, by the way. Yeah, better
Hello
qualifying
there.
for McLaren there, who are going to be starting at 11th and 12th. That's a big improvement on last weekend.
Yeah,
What were they, 16th and 18th or something like that?
I think so. Yeah, they definitely didn't look good um, last time around.
I suppose they're still 1 second off Ferraris.
Yeah, it's still not looking all that good, really.
Well, it's good to get through the rest of Q2 there without another incident, because let's face it, I was personally thinking there was going to be another crash. You just sense it in some sessions and weekends, can't you?
Yeah. It's a shame to see Mick not having another opportunity to do a lap in, but then again, like, considering what happened, I'm glad that he's okay.
Yeah. Well, that was nearly their first Mercedes non-appearance in Q3 for God knows how many races and how many years.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't even remember the last time that happened.
I can't. I mean, it was
Oh
probably
wait,
2013.
wait, wasn't it? Did they make it to Q? Did one of them make it into Q3 at Baku last season? Because I do remember that they struggled quite hard there.
They definitely did. Definitely did.
Might have been Hamilton, yeah.
I mean, one of them probably didn't, but
Made
not,
it
not
into
the pair of
Q3.
them.
Yeah.
Rosa says he reckons if Mick didn't crash, he would have made it through to Q3. What did he end up? 1.2 off the leader, and that puts him only 3 tenths behind
Yeah.
Russell. And Magnussen
Russell.
was a tenth ahead of that. Yeah, I mean, it's entirely
Amazing.
possible. Yeah, he could have slotted in the top 10.
Imagine if he managed to if he managed to do that, and um, we'd have no Mercedes in the top 10.
Yeah, and then we'd be really questioning that Mercedes power unit at absolute
Wow.
least.
Look, the Renault is proving to be a solid power unit so far.
It is. I mean, during the time of Red Bull, towards the end of the Red Bull time together, they were just known for blowing up and just not producing
Yeah,
enough power.
exactly, and shows how far they come really. Not many reliability issues in the last few years. I remember.
Rose has said the start time for Q3 is going to be at 7 minutes to the hour.
Mm.
So yeah, the Renault engine it's been quietly improving. I mean, I think without the pressure from Red Bull, they've been able to actually focus on
Mm.
improving the unit rather than
Yeah.
well having it across the front page of all the motorsport pages with Red Bull slating them constantly.
And it's important to remember that McLaren got their P3 finish in the championship 2 seasons ago using a Renault power unit.
They did.
It shows that maybe with the right car, um, that engine can flourish as well.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it would be interesting if McLaren had went back to Honda power, wouldn't it?
Mm.
That would be an irony.
Yeah, but like it's not really a scenario they'd like to find themselves in at the moment. Like with the cars seeming to be struggling on different areas and adding the power unit to that list just doesn't seem good at all.
Quite right. It is. It's hard to see McLaren again go backwards. just after they
Yeah,
were on a crest of a wave which was peaking, and they seem to have fallen out of favour again with the racing gods.
yeah, they were looking so promising, um, even last year. Like they dropped off a bit towards the end of the season, but we're still looking pretty solid.
Yeah, and we were all hoping it was just them not developing the 2021 car, and they're still behind, which is sad to see. But as we have already said, it's great to see the Alfa Romeo and Haas doing so well.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd completely written them off before the start of this season, the pair of them.
I mean, especially the Alfa Romeo wasn't looking all that strong um, in preseason testing.
Exactly. And the last time the Alpha group looked strong was when Leclerc was driving for them.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. And maybe Kimi's first season after he went back to Sauber, let's say.
The Sauber group, yeah.
Just I'm just surprised to see Bottas making into Q3 two times in a row.
He's got to be laughing his arse off at his sheer luck of leaving Mercedes when they have they've
Yeah,
ended up like this. I mean, Russell might he's in Q3, but he might qualify 10th.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
I will say, as we've said earlier, don't write off Mercedes, but it is so
Yeah,
easy to say they are not looking good. Hey, we've got Miss I'm Blue Abedida Badai here.
is that Sarah in the chat? I see.
It is indeed. And no worries. We
Came in
obviously
just in
have
time.
we obviously have this cool dude helping us out today. And we are enjoying this, aren't we, Pedro?
Indeed, I'm enjoying it very much.
Good to hear, man. I hope you've seen what's gone on, Sarah. Do you want a brief rundown what's happened so far? I'm going to give it to you anyway, even if you don't want it. Hamilton out in Q1, qualified 16th. McLaren's will be starting 11th and 12th, followed by Zhou. Mick Schumacher had a massive crash in Q2, so he'll be starting 14th. And then it's Stroll, then Hamilton, Albon, Hulkenberg, Latifi, and Tsunoda didn't qualify due to a technical issue. So we're now into the top 10 shootout after about a half an hour delay during Q2.
Yeah, let's just add Russell barely made it into the top 10.
Yeah, it's shocking to see Mercedes struggling. But it will be interesting to see, looking back at the footage after this, to see comparing the porpoising between Russell and Hamilton. Because honestly, just the first sign of Russell on track, it looked like that car at the back was much more stable.
Yeah, Russell's car definitely looks much different to Lewis's car.
Yeah,
Clapham is first.
yeah. But crucially, it still looks slow compared to the Ferrari and the team Verstappen, as I said earlier. And certainly
Let's see.
ouch for Lewis. That was on pace as
Um,
well, and he would have probably been 17th if it weren't for Tsunoda not starting.
yeah, and Latifi that had the crash as well at the beginning of
Yeah, oh,
Q1.
of course, yeah, we'd forgotten about that. Yeah, Latifi had a big swap on coming through a tight left-hander
Wait,
and ended up backwards into a barrier as well.
wait, do I see Magnussen setting a purple first sector? Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, the way the graphics work, it's a bit tricky to tell. At the moment, Sainz is purple P sector 1, Leclerc's purple sector 2, and Perez is
Mm-hmm.
somehow purple sector 3, not setting a time in P sector 1. He must have just...
Wait, I
Okay.
think he's still on his outlap.
Yeah, that must be outlaw, 'cause that looked weird.
Okay, so let's have a look. Uh, wow.
The pole time last year, a couple of months ago, effectively, was a 27.5 from Hamilton.
Mm.
But there have been changes to the circuit, and this is obviously a whole new breed of F1 car.
So 28.4 for Leclerc
Yeah,
now. Gasly with a 29.2, and Sainz beats Leclerc.
28.402.
Ocon P3. Okay, Magnussen P5.
Alonso P4. Where did? Oh, well, I suppose we still got Verstappen out there and Perez out there.
Yeah,
It's like it looks like Verstappen's had an abandoned lap or just taken a slow out lap. We've still got Russell, Bottas, Perez, and
P4.
Verstappen to set a decent time.
Yeah, let me say the Alpine pairing are looking strong.
Yeah, that has come out of nowhere.
Mhm.
Where have they been hiding that?
Especially like Ocon had an underrated performance in my opinion last weekend.
I can't remember where he finished last weekend. It was double
Didn't he
points
finish?
for him, wasn't it?
Yeah, double points. Not actually sure where he finished now. Not that he mentioned it. It was like around P6 to P8. I'm not sure at the moment. I just checked that quickly.
Ooh,
Yes.
Checo almost hit the barrier there. And those Red Bulls are really
Yeah.
pushing it.
Have a look at the results from last race. Alonso struggled last weekend. So yeah, Ocon finished P7. Um, Still pretty good results.
It is. The only issue I've got with that is we had the two Red Bulls drop out in the last lap or two. So that
Yeah,
not necessarily as strong as it looks, but it's still points.
still, yeah.
So
He would have still finished P9, which, let's be real, would still be a good result for Alpine.
I'll tell you what though, we're now looking at a interesting grid if it stays as it is. We've got Sainz, Leclerc, Perez, Ocon, Alonso, Verstappen, who is on track but doing another slow lap in sixth.
Yeah,
Gasly, Bottas, Magnussen, Russell.
not
But it
sure
looks
what
like
happened
Russell's
to
not setting a competitive time yet.
not sure what happened to Verstappen.
Hmm. I
I
wonder
mean,
if
he
they're
still has the time to put another lap in.
yeah, I wonder if they're all struggling with traffic or just abandoning laps or doing slow out laps. I can see Russell's doing the same thing and being
Hmm.
nearly 20 seconds off. It means,
Yeah,
hmm. Okay, Russell is on
okay,
a
so
competitive
Leclerc is
lap.
going, looking like it so far. Moved on two of the corners from the first sector, it seems.
I'm starting to wonder if we might see a Sainz first pole position.
Well, that would be interesting to see.
Hmm. I hoped for that earlier on. I think I mentioned it, but I didn't actually full on believe it might happen. So this could be a F1 first.
Hmm.
Oh, those Red Bulls are so close to the walls. Actually, it's worth noting this track has been altered slightly since last year, and the drivers
Yes.
can get closer to the curves on the curbs and see around corners a lot better. So, although they are approaching the time for Q3 last year, it's not exactly the fairest of tests.
Hmm.
Ooh,
And
those Red
Russell's
Bulls
lap is
cutting
looking good.
curbs.
Okay, let's see where Russell finishes. He's just about to finish the lap.
Up to fifth.
P5.
Up to fifth.
Okay.
7 tenths. 7 tenths off the Ferrari.
Yeah. Still a long way to go for them.
It just looking on board with Russell at the moment, just looks like during the high speed, it's got loads of grip, and then the back sort of snaps a little bit.
Hmm. Oh, Valtteri's improving. Let's see where he finishes. P6 now. It's barely a tenth of Russell.
That is worrying for the Mercedes fans. I love how Crofty describes things. He says Russell going around the final corner, and this corner is taken at roughly 62 miles an hour. Um, Sounds rather exact to me.
Okay.
Question for you first, Pedro. Sarah asks,
Hmm.
"How are you guys? You guys enjoying quali?"
I'm good, thank you. And yeah, for sure, it's been an interesting quali session so far. A lot of surprises. One of them being Hamilton
Ooh.
getting eliminated in Q1, and see the McLaren boys improving um, a bit compared to Bahrain. Mm, let's be honest, they weren't looking that strong from the free practice around here. And yeah,
Exactly that. I couldn't
good
agree
so
more.
far.
And we've had some action on track with a couple of crashes, a couple of red flags. Yeah, it's been good. Otherwise, good here. Thank you for asking. And
How about yourself?
likewise.
Yeah.
So I'll make it known for anyone who's new to the channel. I'm not the biggest Max Verstappen fan, but I want to see him get right up there for some more action tomorrow. Let's hope he doesn't do what he did last season out at the end on his end flying lap for Q3 in Saudi and bin it into the wall. Hoping for a good competitive race tomorrow. Leclerc sets a purple in sector 1.
Let me be honest. I'm on board with Magnussen, and on the runway to that banked corner, like it just seems so uncomfortable to see the car bouncing that much.
Clearly making the car work. Making that Ferrari power unit go well. Leclerc, purple, sector 2.
And there's a question for you. Do you think that if Sainz somehow manages to get pole position, do you think that Ferrari will still allow him to finish first tomorrow, or do you think that they'll prioritize Leclerc?
That's a very good question. That is a very good question. In the meantime, Leclerc does go provisional pole.
See where Magnussen finished. It looked like a good lap, but especially on the main straight and on the runway to the bank corner, the first one, like the first bank corner,
Hmm.
uh, first and only one actually. The car is bouncing so much.
I'll have to check that out. And regards to the Ferrari team orders, I don't think they're the same Ferrari team they used to be. Oh! Oh! We have a new pole sitter.
There we go. There with the good improvements.
Yeah, Perez
Is
is
that
just
Perez?
Perez. Yeah, he's just woken up. Where did that
Hmm.
come from? Well done to Perez.
Wow.
How long have we got in the sector? Is Verstappen even on a lap?
I think he is, but he's improving, but I don't think he's going to improve much.
Well,
Wow, Perez took almost like 4 tenths off his previous lap time. Oh, Verstappen is fourth.
yeah, so Verstappen isn't on a lap.
Wow.
What? Oh, so that's Perez, pole, Leclerc, signs Verstappen.
Yeah, the session has finished.
Okay, that's a shocker.
Wow.
Where did that come from?
Out of the two Red Bulls, I wasn't expecting to see Perez on pole.
Same.
Well, just a quarter of a tenth ahead of Oh my god.
Well, where did that come from Perez? And to answer your question,
Wow.
Katie, we'll talk about that after. We'll see what we can do.
But look at that. Ocon in P5
Yeah,
with Alonso in P7.
it's not bad. Good showing from a load of the drivers in this. So as a rundown, we have Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen, somehow in fourth, Ocon in fifth, Russell, Alonso, Bottas, Gasly, and then Magnussen running up the top 10. Looks like he's at the limit of that Haas. But as you say, if he's struggling with porpoising, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like I was on board during his last lap, and it just didn't look comfortable at all to see him, like to see the car bouncing that much.
Well, if you've learned one thing from this session is that the porpoising or the setup isn't just affecting teams with the same engines, as in we've got the Ferrari power units and Mercedes power units that are struggling. It's just affecting drivers within the same team.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Russell in P6. Looking interesting. Just look at the gap, like from Verstappen to Ocon. It's pretty much it's more than a 6/10 difference.
It's, yeah, 6 tenths and 7,000. Yeah, 6 tenths. Call it 6 tenths.
Like,
So that
it's
that puts.
clearly Red Bull, Ferrari, and the rest thus far. Wow.
Well, that was an entertaining session. Oh, Russell had a big swap on coming through one of the right-handers, so that'd be where some of his time went. That
Oh, so did Ocon. Oh,
that was a good save from Ocon. That was nearly a red flag.
indeed.
Same
On the
place.
same place.
Oh,
Exactly the same place where Mick crashed.
that's a code brown. Seeing the
Oh,
impact of where Mick was, and then knowing you're doing the same thing, that's a code brown. Woo! Yeah. And since I'm getting a bit of pressure off the dented lemur on this one, who would be interested in some Jackbox tonight?
Oh, I am.
Give me half an hour and I'll see what I can arrange.
Wow.
Well, that's the end of that session. I mean,
That was a
that was
quality
really good
session
fun.
and a half.
That's good. That's a memorable one. And thank you, Pedro, for being not a last-minute stand-in, but being a very good co-commentator. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
No, thank you for letting me be alongside you and watch the race and comment on it. And
Absolutely.
to everyone in the chat as well for being there with us from the beginning.
Exactly that. And absolutely any time, mate. Well, it looks like we are set up for a cracking race tomorrow. It's going to be
What are your predictions for tomorrow?
Do you know? I don't know. It's the second race weekend in a row. I see who's starting on pole, and I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, Perez is not known for starting out front and leading away. He's just never done it. He's always inherited wins at Baku, and where did he win? I forgot where he won.
And at Baku, and it was Sakir.
Yeah, on the
Bahrain on the other way out.
Yeah, he's never led away. This is going to be a complete unknown for Perez, who was the beginning or the end of the 2020 looking like he was going to be out of F1. And again, you can say the same to Magnussen on that, can't you?
Yeah, well, I'm surprised because Perez usually struggles during quali. Actually, did an outstanding job today, like throughout all the sessions.
And thank you, Zenos. You're an absolute gent. He says, good job.
Yeah, thank you, Zenos.
Yeah. He says he hopes we don't get any red flags. Do you know what? I'm going to be surprised if we don't get to one or two. It's going to be an exciting race. But I'll be honest, Perez is known for not having the best starts. So I'm going to be surprised if he leads into the second lap.
but then again, we have to factor in the management he does during the race
That's true.
itself. So he might not be quick straight off the bat, but he knows what to do, like to just be consistent and
That's true.
manage like tire wear and everything.
And we know he can fight for position, as we know from Abu Dhabi last year. But
Yeah,
can he do it across a whole Grand Prix?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking of as well. Not really sure.
All I know is I'd be very worried with Leclerc behind me, alongside me.
Indeed, just I think Leclerc is going all out because that's just the way he is as well. He will keep on fighting until there are no more opportunities left.
Hmm. I do think, crucially, the difference between him and Verstappen is although Leclerc he makes a lot of solo mistakes and occasionally ends up in a barrier, he
Mm,
doesn't dive bomb people.
yeah,
It's a very different overtaking style, a lot more calculated.
yeah, yeah. Even though he sometimes just loses it, as you said, because he's a bit too eager to try and get the overtake done at a certain point. Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Well, I think we'll leave that there. That is the end of qualifying. I think it's been fun, and I think we'll do this again at some time, mate. And
I love to.
you're definitely invited back. I tell you that now.
Thank you.
We'll work something out. We might have to do a rotation schedule.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get something on the go. We'll get something on the go. But regards to the stream, I'm going to call that it for this one. I don't think there's much we can do in terms of a breakdown. We know two crashes, two red flags, Perez on pole, and what
Yeah,
the biggest breakdown other than that is the knockout of
Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Yeah, curious to see how he'll do tomorrow, starting that far back. Uh, Considering the struggles he had
Mm.
throughout the session.
We are going to finally find out if these cars can A, follow, and B, Hamilton has any pace. We shall figure that
Yeah,
one out tomorrow. So, again, thank you
indeed.
very much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I
Likewise.
hope to see some good racing tomorrow and all of you guys back. So, I say a big thank you to everyone who's been chatting. So, Xenos, Kaz, Roses, Lima, Sarah, all of you bods. It's been an absolute pleasure. I know there's a few I haven't mentioned, but thank you very much. So, catch you all later and see you
Okay,
next
well,
time.
everyone.
I'm going to give you a high five,
Bye.
Pedro. Are you ready for this?
Oh, wait, I'm not sure if I know how to do this.
Hold your right hand up.
Practice.
Yeah. Turn to the side. Turn it to the side. Other side. Other side. Other
This
side.
other side.
Other
Okay.
side for me. 1, 2, 3. There we go. That'll do. That'll do. And I'm catch you later.